Our next speaker, Sue Shipe, whose author and spiritual name is Moria, began channeling the new message of love in 1991. Following a profound spiritual ordination, she committed her life to sharing the new message of love with the world. Born in West Virginia, Sue began her journey in the center of a state known for its friendly and caring people. Although she moved to New York after finishing college, continued connections with people and the organizations in West Virginia will form the foundation for a new business expansion from New York to West Virginia. Her career in education as a music teacher, public school administrator, and educator at the state level ended when she had to leave due to illness, eventually diagnosed several years later with fibromyalgia. She founded the International Institute for Human Empowerment in 2000 as a not-for-profit public charity. Its program includes International Peace Meditation, International Unity Day, and publishing. The organization is all volunteer and has grown to include the New World Empowerment Center and the Fibromyalgia, and I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, Sue, Task Force for New York State. It also maintains a Facebook page called Ufology Rocks! A closet channel and experiencer for many years, Sue published anonymously under her spiritual name of Moria. Now public, she is sharing broadly the new message of love, a gift for humanity from the angelic entities called the Teachers of Love. This new message from the angels in the sacred message for our time is that all people of all faiths or none, it is the preparation for the new world which has already begun. All of our institutions, education, government, healthcare, religion, and science will need to be able to incorporate knowledge of beings not from this earth. Those unable to expand may disappear. New institutions, definitions of reality, and philosophies will emerge. We stand with one foot in the past and one in the future we cannot yet begin to comprehend. What can we hold onto that can support and guide us through this evolutionary period? The new message of love is the message for this time. Please welcome our next speaker, Sue Shipe.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. This is going to be very different from anything else I think you've probably experienced. This is going to be like a workshop format, and I want you to know that this is about you. I'm going to be talking about me, but I want you to be very introspective and think about yourself and your experiences and what this means for you. So before I begin, can you hear me? Now can you hear me? Okay. Do I need to repeat that? It will be a workshop, introspective, and it's about you. I'm really grateful for your presence today, and I promise that I'm going to try to make your time not only worthwhile today, but the beginning of a much brighter future for you and those you love. You've heard a lot since you've been here: PowerPoints, statistics, new information on so many topics. it can be pretty overwhelming. But now we're going to change pace. We're going to move from intellectualizing this experience to experiencing it. Can you hear me? Louder, okay. I'm going to be sharing a lot of prepared remarks, but then we're going to have a period of time where it's going to be about you. So if you'll just give me a few minutes here to share my story and see where you relate to it and apply it to your situation, because this hour and 15 minutes is not about me, it is to be about you. My name is Sue Shipe. My spiritual name, the name given to me by the angelic beings I'm in communication with, is Mariah. So I use the name Mariah also when I'm writing, in case you see it anywhere. I was a quiet girl from a little-known state in Appalachia. From about the age of 10, I began to feel the weight of a very heavy calling. Even as a child, I saw life differently, having the capacity to feel very deeply for other children, an extreme sensitivity that made my life difficult, empathy that made me suffer for others, and a deep need to express through my music as my only safe outlet. Maybe you can relate to that. The area I grew up in was isolated. It was a perfect place for unusual and unexplained activity. In 1952, 6 miles from my home in Sutton, West Virginia, a UFO landed. People I know saw an unusual being alive after the crash, and I feel sure they have suffered lifelong effects, not only from the event itself, but from not being believed and probably often ridiculed. I heard stories about the UFO crash many years later. One memory stays with me. My dad was a World War II naval pilot, and he saw it, and he told me, as we stood at the door in our living room, that he had never seen anything with that trajectory. That was from a naval pilot. I was told that there was a lot of excitement and television attention at the time. Mind you, this was 1952. But later, my father kind of distanced himself from the event after all the debunking that caused almost everyone no longer to believe. I'm still friends with one of those people who saw the being that day, referred to as the Braxton County Monster, if you've ever read about it. John David is a completely credible person. I knew others who were there, and they were credible also. One was a journalist who lived next door to me. Years later, when I went back to West Virginia, which I often do, but when I went back, I invited people at a reunion to share their stories with me, telling them that I would publish their stories. I did not ask for UFO stories. I just publish stories. Not one person would give me a story. So this story now lives on like a legend in that area. They refer to it as a legend, but I'm convinced it was much, much more. Although that story only touched me years later, I have no doubt that living in that environment influenced me and was a part of the beginning of my story. Appalachia is part of the Bible Belt that you may have heard of. It's also known for its poverty. We didn't have much, but it never mattered because we had each other. Our social life revolved around the churches, and we absorbed the values of the people that still live there today: honesty, caring, just like here, looking out for each other, a deep sense of community, and especially faith as the center of our lives. I'm not speaking of religion, as I left that long ago to seek my own spiritual path. But that has led me places I could not have imagined. As I look back, I can see there are two areas of my life developing side by side. I was having spiritual experiences. I was also having paranormal experiences. I'm now what you call a lifelong experiencer. I've had many unexplained experiences, paranormal and spiritual, that I'd like to share with you. Now, this is very important. As I share these experiences, it's possible some of you may become triggered. I'm here to talk with you at my table afterward. I have business cards there. You can always call me. Like I continue to do with people who have fibromyalgia, because I'm an educator in that. I would like to be able to help people who have had unexplained experiences. I want you to be able to integrate those experiences into your life safely. I want you to keep in mind that when you choose a professional to talk to assist with those memories, that only a few of them are trained to really help you. This is an unusual topic, but there are a lot of us in the UFO community who are very experienced and are ready to help. Now about me. I've never seen a UFO. However, I've had many very dramatic experiences during other levels of consciousness. I have seen aliens. I have seen animals that I believe were actually aliens. I will give you a description of one. I was in an altered state of consciousness, which I often am because I meditate a lot. But you know, there are many levels of consciousness. And if you've studied hypnosis as I have, there are many levels. This wasn't as deep as sleep. I was aware of everything around me. But this cat was very, very big. And I'm not a cat person, I'm a dog person, so I don't really understand their language, their body language. But this was a Siamese cat, and he had his tail coming up over his back, like pointed toward me, and was walking toward me. He was very big, so I was scared. And I went into this room. This is in this other state of consciousness, mind you. I went into this room, and the paw of the cat came through. That's the last I remember. That, like most of the experiences, we tend to remember just little bits of. And we tend to say, it didn't really happen because I only remember this little bit. Well, I don't know whether they block our memory, as many people think, and create amnesia, or what. So much of this is theory. But I saw that. I've heard words spoken when nobody was near. I've smelled smoke and perfume when nobody was there. I've heard very distinctly in their own voices loved ones who have passed, and I've received their messages. One was Senator Robert Byrd. He was a very dear friend coming from West Virginia. He was like an uncle to me. And when he passed, I guess it was a buildup of all the grief I'd experienced over the years losing my family. I sat and cried for 5 days straight. And on that 5th day, I heard in his voice, "Susan, I didn't know you cared so much." He called me Susan. Nobody else does. I felt the presence of beings I cannot see. I've felt the touch on my skin when nobody else was there. I've sensed energy on me hundreds or thousands of times. You may have too. I've received downloads of complete poems, messages, books. In fact, all of my books are channeled, and also articles. We have a monthly peace meditation we've been doing the first Sunday of every month since 1997. I also channeled those messages. I've intuited when people needed assistance, and I've received answers from questions from unknown sources. Probably my most profound experience was I was sitting on my bed and I was meditating, but again, in that level of consciousness where you have other awareness, and where the wall met the ceiling, all the way across, I saw the pairs of the eyes of the Greys. Just eyes, no bodies. And for some reason, I thought, go away. And they disappeared immediately. I've, in this other state of consciousness, have gone through walls and ceilings. I've seen my body from a position near the ceiling when my body was down low. I've been abducted and examined. I was brought an alien child. I've experienced seeing from the perspective of an alien, seeing the landscape expand so that cars can become so tiny they look like little matchbox cars, maybe smaller. I awakened in pain after seeing a talon of what appeared to be Dogman extending through my hand. I was asleep, and I had all this pain in my hand. In retrospect, I probably was just sleeping on it. But I had all this pain, and in my mind, what I saw was the talon of what I think might have been Dogman coming through my hand, going in here and coming out here. I saw the creature, I saw the face, I saw the whiskers, but it had a talon. I can feel the feelings of a friend at a long distance, hundreds of miles away. In fact, sometimes I pick up on those feelings and I think they're mine. And then I realize I'm not having a bad day. Why do I feel like this? Oh, and I check in with a friend, and that friend is having a bad day. I've experienced articles moved when nobody was home. I came home one night and the little picture frames on top of the desk I have, a high-top desk, were laying in different positions. I've channeled aloud messages for individuals and for small groups, actually used it in counseling. I received messages to guide me, basically all the time. I've experienced a room, when I was speaking like this, become completely quiet and the audience appear hypnotized. It was so strange, you could hear a pin drop. I only experienced it once, but it was a strange experience. I've experienced energy so strong, there was no denying that I was not alone. And then my other very, very important to me experience was when I saw an angel. And this angel was very large, and I saw the hair. I saw this angel from behind, and the hair looked like my mother or my grandmother. It could have been either. And I've always thought it was like that angel was, both of them, was one. I've experienced memories from past lives, not a lot, but I have this deep belief that I was alive and present during the lifetime of Jesus Christ, that I was there at the crucifixion, and I have another memory of a past life where I was stoned to death. I felt the presence, the actual physical presence of energy for the first time when I was 16 years old. I was sitting on the grass at my grandfather's gravesite. We were very close. And some people would say Holy Spirit. That's how they would describe it. Whatever words, it doesn't really matter because we don't frankly really know what it is. But this deep energy came around me. I've smelled scents that really weren't there. Nobody else was around. Just sitting in my house alone, and there was cigar smoke. And then there was another one that was a perfume, and I recognized it as my grandmother used to get me used to cologne for Christmas. It was like it was my grandmother. I've experienced energy medicine both as a healer and as a client. I saw a female come toward me with a long needle moving toward my abdomen. And the last one I'll share is that I saw a relative who passed a long time ago. And I was in this other state of consciousness. And as I watched, he unzipped his face, and I saw a reptilian inside. That one still disturbs me. So we experiencers try to figure out what's going on. How do we know? Is it just a regular dream? Or was that an experience? How are you going to know? It's only up to you. It's your call, because you're the only one who experienced it. This is why I look at it. Experiences seem very real at the time. They feel like life. And all or parts of it are remembered, which often does not happen with just regular dreams. Experiencers feel real, as if it really happened to them. A sense of somehow you just know. And this experience often carries a meaning for that person who had it. That's my theory. I'm not sure. Nobody is. Another theory that some of us have is that we may all be hybrids. In my other side, my spiritual side, I believe that we are all both human and divine. Lots of times we don't recognize our own divinity. But some of us, I believe, are also human, alien, and divine. It's believed by many today that aliens seeded our planet, and many of us are beginning to remember bits of our lives in other star systems. My teachers or guides told me that I'm from Alpha Centauri. That's one of the closest star systems. A friend remembers seeing me on a UFO. A friend remembers that we were a couple in 2 previous lifetimes. When we experience a healing from a divinely guided healer, there are other beings. You can call them angels, whatever you want to call them. There are spiritual beings there assisting with that healing. Always go to a healer who is very filled with love. Be very careful about that, because what is coming through to them is coming through to you. Probably the most significant thing that has happened in my life is I communicate at least daily with my guides or teachers. They're called the Teachers of Love. They are a group of beings, and we might refer to them as angelic beings because they're very highly evolved, and that's the key. They may not have ever been human. They may have. I haven't seen them. But you can have highly evolved beings, I believe, among the aliens also. So these are the Teachers of Love, and they have given me all these other books too that I didn't bring. I have kept all of everything that they have given me in notebooks over the years. My house is full of little tapes where I used to record it, and then just notebook after notebook where I try to write daily. They explain what I'm experiencing in real life within a broader context. They tell me what needs to happen in the future. They even give me my next steps. They're always available when I call upon them. And they know my thoughts, and we're in communication all times. Now, I got to tell you, if I were sitting where you're sitting, I don't know if I believe any of this. And so if you don't, I get it. I would wonder about my sanity. How could anybody have all those experiences and tell about it? All those experiences that are outside our scientific paradigm. That's the key. These are not experiences that I've described that we would say was part of our everyday reality, and yet I'm just a regular person and it happened to me. Sometimes I wonder how I have so successfully integrated those experiences, which continue to happen to a point that that's just my natural way of living. And here I am sharing them with you. So I hope you can continue to be open, because what happened to me doesn't matter. What matters is what may have already happened to you or what may happen. Once you understand that these events are happening to people worldwide, and I read constantly, and so are all these other presenters, and I understand you're a very educated audience. You read all the time too. This is happening worldwide. It isn't just something local. So if it begins to happen to you, don't panic. Be careful who you tell. Find somebody who's experienced about it. And do be careful who you tell, because there still are consequences in our society for revealing this. I'm quite aware up here. The other thing to think about is, as this information about experiencers becomes more widespread, realize that all of our institutions are going to be affected. In fact, they're already being affected. Our institutions are built upon trust. And when trust in them fails, they will fail. So it's going to be up to us, like the people in here, who are grounded and prepared, who have a vision for the future, who can receive guidance, who will lead humanity into the future. I deeply believe that. It will be the people like you and me. And that's why I believe we're here today. This is one of my books. It's one of 3 books that contains something I'll tell you more about later called The New Message of Love. The New Message of Love was given to us through channeling from these beings called the Teachers of Love. But this has an intro for it. Experiencers. It's called Experiencer's Guide to the New World. This is a call to action, calling all experiencers, starseeds, light workers, experiencers and messengers, healers, psychics, dreamers and clairvoyants, hybrids, indigo children, spiritual healers, energy workers, and more. Most of us are not from here. Our preparation in previous lifetimes prepared us for this time. And now it's time for our next big step, which will be leadership. The new message of love included here is humanity's preparation for joining with the others not of Earth. It's time to help humanity prepare for the peaceful integration with the others. You can probably see that I need to be mentally healthy to handle all of this, to deal with it daily, and now to try to assist others prepare. And to help you if needed, and other people here to help you if it happens with you, or perhaps it already has. Now, as I told you, this is going to be experiential, so in a few minutes I'm going to have you do some work. I still have a little bit more to tell you about, but then I'm going to put you to work. I have no formal theological training. My ordination was spiritual. I was home alone. There were no clergy, no sacraments. The vision of an angel pouring gold light upon my head and the words, "You are ordained," were my spiritual ordination. It was a profound and lasting experience. I did each step as I was given. I didn't know anything about meditation. I learned to meditate by simply showing up with an open heart and a desire and intent to meditate. And I would tell you that's all it takes. You don't have to worry about which form of meditation you're doing or how you're guided or whatever. Show up. Just show up with a desire and intent to meditate. I received the information, that I recorded it, and now I'm sharing it. I wear a ring that is my commitment to my path. I opened my heart to receive, and now I'm opening it to you. So what is the new world? We really don't know yet, but we're preparing for it today, here. Preparation for the new world. We know that things are changing. We know that people are changing. Values, philosophies are changing. Institutions that depend upon the public trust are being challenged. Some are desperately hanging on to the past, while other people are attempting to move us toward more equality. We're having a power shift. Power is shifting back and forth, creating a feeling of great uncertainty. We've been given promises of transparencies about UFOs, but at the same time, others are holding back, fearing the outcomes if the public finds out. Our institutions that are built upon trust are being challenged as never before. Education, healthcare, science, criminal justice systems, legal and governmental systems. Truth is being traded for expediency. Why is it happening? Well, one of the reasons for the changes that we're feeling is due to the fact that some of us are experiencers and some of us are not. Like some of us have seen UFOs, some of us have not. When those who have never seen a UFO claim they don't exist, there's a dissonance created for those of us who have had those experiences. When what one sees as part of their experiences during an expanded consciousness, those who have not seen this will refuse to believe. What you haven't experienced doesn't seem credible to you, and that causes a lot of confusion. For some, reality is not what we taught our children, or they believe only what they learned as children. Nothing has changed, and their minds are not going to change. They're not open to new information, and they feel challenged when confronted. Others have accepted new information that tells them that everything has changed since they were young. It's not that we were lied to, it's that new information has become available. The divide between the people who are holding on to only what they were taught and those people who have the capacity to accept information is challenging relationships and trust in our way of life. I mean, think about it. We're talking about abductions, out-of-body experiences, astral travel, remote viewing, sightings of craft capable of maneuvers not possible under our current laws of physics. All of that can be viewed as something I haven't experienced yet, or it's just not possible. There are times when UFOs are seen by multiple witnesses, and that seems to make it be deemed more credible. Because the experiences of one person during expanded consciousness generally does not include others. Exceptions might be past life experiences where we recognize others. So we have to rely on the veracity of the storyteller. How do we know they're telling the truth? Well, one of those ways is our profound intuition. We can develop our intuition to know when someone is lying or expanding upon the truth, manipulating, deceiving. Our gut instinct can guide us. And think about it. If we're dealing not only with people we don't know, but if we're dealing with others, beings from other worlds, where there's no common language, how are we going to communicate? How are we going to know their intent? How do we know if we're safe? Experiencer's Guide to the New World was written for those who are experiencing events that can't happen in our current notion of reality, but they are happening. For some of us, it's been occurring throughout our lives. This is a time of rapidly expanding consciousness for many people. You might hear the phrase, the veil is thinning. Shifts are happening. Whether we understand it or not, whether we want them to or not, these shifts are happening. Perhaps those with higher levels of consciousness are permitted to see more. We don't know. But without a doubt, many people are expanding their abilities to see, to hear, to know, to smell, to sense, far beyond what is currently thought of with our senses. Healers often depend upon being able to see auras, colors, shadings, things that other people may not see. It helps them to detect where one is unwell. Adjusting these blockages and imbalances can increase human health. We don't know why, but we do know through experience. Scientists often don't know why treatments work, but through clinical observation have discovered that they do. Sometimes experience precedes understanding. As society grapples with these political, geographical, climate, and reality shifts, we need something to hold on to. We need to develop our own individual skills to help us know what is safe. We need to know when we are being tricked or manipulated. We need to know when another is lying. We need to use all of the possible tools in our toolbox to help us navigate this time in human history. When humanity is in a time of impending crisis, or as it is often said, the light goes out, it can be sent an intervention. We have been given an intervention to guide us through these changes. This intervention is called the new message of love. Love in this context is energy. It might be known, and you might feel you want to call it God or Allah or Source or Universe or whatever name you choose. Here, refer to it as love. This love energy is universal and it's available to all who call upon it. However, the principle of free will means that each of us must make that choice for ourselves. This powerful energy called love can fill us. It can take away blockages. It can heal our spirit. It can restore balance to our body systems. When we learn to work with it, it can enhance our intuition and develop our senses so that we can be more protected. It's not easy, but it's simple. It requires wanting it and allowing it and making time for it and opening to it. As we develop our capacity to carry more of this love energy, it will be recognized by others. As we develop this capacity and we are carrying this energy, others will react to us. Some will be drawn to us. Some will want to be with us. Others won't know what it is, but they just don't like us and they pull away. And others may be threatened and strike out. So if you decide that you're going to meditate more and increase this energy, realize that you are changing and you will be noted differently. So it's a process to begin to carry this energy. You open to it through meditation and desire. But there are pitfalls that have to be addressed. For example, I hear people talking about they receive downloads. It's important to recognize whether the download is coming from a dependable source. So note, if you start getting a lot of information, so that you have to write it down real fast if you want to keep it, notice what it is. Is it of high, I want to say high vibration, is it of love, is it kind, is it good? Is it good for humanity? Or is it negative, evil? That will tell you about your source. When you receive this, run it by these questions. Does it feel right? Does it feel like truth? Ask yourself, what is the source? You can even ask them, what is the source? If we can be objective and have neither fear nor preference, this can lead us to truth. However, we as humans are very vulnerable to our fears and to our preferences, to our desires. And this can cause us to believe what we want to believe. I had that put to the test. My colleague was dying. I wanted desperately for him to recover. He was such a wonderful, kind colleague. I had just begun receiving all these downloads, and I was kind of on a high, to tell you the truth. This is pretty exciting. And I somehow managed to let myself think that he was going to get better. And I was doing what I could. I was buying him books. I was, inspirational materials, writing him, keeping in touch with him. And so when I walked into the office and found out he passed, it put me in crisis. This isn't what was supposed to happen. This isn't what I was told. It happened, the messages, because I was influencing them. I so desperately wanted what I wanted that I didn't see what was happening right in front of me. It took me a while to trust the teachers again. It was so painful, and it violated my trust of them. But then as I thought about it, I realized I had to accept my responsibility and rebuild, because I was the one who was influencing the messages. So if you receive downloads, you need to get yourself into a place where you have no preferences and it's not about fear. Just let the words come. That lesson for me was very, very painful. But I needed to experience it if I was ever going to be able to tell people like you about this wonderful thing. I needed to know where the pitfalls were. And believe me, I found out. So the fight for truth will have many setbacks, because a lot of people are never going to want to believe that the others are visiting, and that they have been for a long time. They're influencing our thoughts, manipulating our weapons, abducting our citizens, performing unspeakable experiments upon us, mating with us, and even using us for their purposes. Some are helping, like the teachers of love, but those who are helping remain at a distance. They advise and they teach us. There are others who are coming for their own needs. We as people are changing. It is likely that some of us are hybrids, joined with those not from Earth. If that's the case, how will we change? Are our bodies changing? Is it true that some of the aliens live for very long periods? Will that affect our aging process? Are our bodies changing to adapt to our changing environment? Are we products of lives from outside Earth? Many people think so. We as parents and teachers have a most difficult job. We're attempting to prepare children for a future we can't even imagine. Think back for a moment. Think back to your parents, your grandparents, and their lives. Think of the changes that have occurred. Our parents, grandparents could never have imagined everybody walking around with a cell phone, which is really a combination of so many types of technology, I'm told. So we're charged with taking a step in preparation for this new world, while we're only beginning to, I can't even say understand, imagine what this new world is going to be like. Therefore, we need a preparation that will serve us throughout, where we empower ourselves to be strong enough to endure. And that's what I'm talking about here, is the new message of love. It's in 3 books. I have it just for general audience. I have You Are Love for people with a Christian background who would have difficulty, I might imagine, incorporating these ideas. There's about 80 pages of intro here to show you how you can expand on your understanding of the life of Jesus to make it relevant to today's world, and how you can add the expansion of our senses so that we can learn to see and hear, clairaudience, clairvoyance. We can expand our senses so that we have more capabilities to navigate this world. Even as we prepare for joining with the others not of this world, we're also going through a spiritual shift. You've probably heard people talk about 3rd dimension to 5th dimension. People are having unusual experiences. This is where you hear the expression, the veil is thinning. Many people are trying to hold on to the old traditions, reluctant to expand their awarenesses. We don't need to let go of those old traditions. We need those. They keep us grounded and centered. They are our basis of our faith, if that's what we have. But we need to also be open to allow for new awarenesses to be incorporated. Many people will not be able to do that. The following is taken from my new channeled manuscript called Awakening to the Divine Within. It's a message about raising our frequency to affect this shift. And you've probably, at least if you're on Facebook, you probably see memes about raising in frequency all the time. You may have heard of it and not know what it meant. So, in asking the teachers of love, what does it mean to raise your frequency? This is the answer I got. Your planet is preparing an upgrade in frequency. It is a necessary shift, as you are currently stuck in a cycle of fear as evidenced by violence against the body and soul of those who are different, by greed by some over necessities for all, competition for basic needs over collaboration for the common good. In other words, your world is operating in the third dimension, and you will need to upgrade in order to achieve peace. As each person desires peace over domination, your planet begins to shift. The elevation in the collective consciousness is what is creating this shift. That is why you pray and you meditate for peace. Peace can only come when people's hearts desire love over fear, and this is what is now occurring. Some of the old ways are being replaced by the new. Foundations that once enjoyed the public trust are crumbling. Oppression is losing acceptance as those without voices rise and those who are supported, and they are supported by those who are thus empowered. The old is being replaced by the new. New thoughts, new emotions, new actions, new values, philosophies, and power. As this shift occurs, those who cannot accept change will be left behind. They will blame others for their plight without examining their refusal to change. Thus, the new divide will be between those who can raise their frequencies to this new dimension and those who choose to remain behind. Acceptance of differences as a strength rather than weakness will be the defining choice. Those who come must become integrated into this new dimension. Love will determine who can join. Be love in the world. Some of you are already aware that we've been holding this peace meditation, as I mentioned, since 1997. I think today is our 303rd meditation. It's sent out to people globally. It's done at any time during the 24 hours of the first Sunday of the month. I hope you will join us. We need you, and I think you could benefit from it too. And a little bit more before I put you to work. There are physical consequences to this shift in frequency. This is also from the same manuscript, Awakening to the Divine Within, that I received, or that I am receiving. This has to do with illness. This is something I have pondered a long time since I have worked and have fibromyalgia, and I've worked to help people with it. Fifth dimension illnesses are responses to stressors in our environment. While there are illnesses that may be a direct response, such as reactions to chemicals, many more are a reaction to energetic stress. So, what is energetic stress? And again, this is still the answer I received. As the frequencies of your world increase, so are the demands upon the human body. What the body cannot readily accommodate, it experiences as stress. That's why, when there's to be a great change in frequency, as some are experiencing, it needs to be experienced incrementally. When you desire a rapid influx of energy to raise your vibration, this incoming energy destroys what it cannot tolerate. Like an immune system that locates and destroys destructive invaders, the body also attempts to destroy what remains at a lower frequency. As you heal, your body eliminates what remains at that lower vibration. This can be experienced as illnesses and extreme fatigue, as the body eliminates what no longer can live in that higher frequency. This represents many of the newer illnesses about which many of your physicians appear confounded. This is particularly true of chronic pain and fatigue conditions and other autoimmune conditions. Okay, I've shared my background and my life story with you. We've talked about the changes in the new world. We've recognized that two shifts are occurring simultaneously, one spiritual, moving from 3D to 5D, and the other preparing for the others to come, the others from other places, other planets, other worlds. We realize we need a common set of experiences and language in order to prepare others for this new world. We recognize it's going to be the experiencers of every type that are being called upon to prepare the next group of experiencers. We in this room are the future leaders. If you haven't already, I recommend that you read the work of Dr. John Mack. His pioneering work with abductees led him to consider that we need to expand our notion of what constitutes reality. Now, the change of place I've promised. I would like for you to have some direct experience today. So I'm going to ask you to look around the room. And we have some empty chairs. I'm going to ask you to sit next to somebody you don't know. Makes you a little comfortable to move and to sit with somebody you don't know. But for the purpose of this exercise, I think this will be very helpful. So in the next 2 minutes, would you please find a new partner? And this will be your partner for the rest of this presentation. Keep your pen and pad with you. Thank you for those of you who are brave enough to do this. I think there will be some surprises in store. You didn't get the pads of paper? Is Mike in the room? Mike and Brian? Some people didn't get paper. Can you? Everybody should have a pad of paper and a pen. Okay, thank you. This is the fun part where you get to know a little more about yourself, and there may be some surprises along the way. What is an experiencer? It's a person who's had at least one unexplained experience. May I ask you if you care to share, and you don't need to, care to share, how many of you think you may be an experiencer? Okay. Thank you. Once you recognize you're an experiencer, it's now time to prepare to lead. Others will begin to discover something outside of themselves that's infiltrating their lives. It's happening in waves, and the early ones experiencing this will be helping the others. Does everybody have a pad of paper now? Everybody has a pen, okay. So here's what I would like you to do. This first, pardon me? I will try, yes. Thank you. Thank you. You've partnered now with somebody you don't know, right? So this is going to be an activity for your intuition. I'm going to give you all the directions at once so you know what to expect. And then we'll do it one step at a time. So now that you're next to somebody, this is your partner, and you're going to be thinking about your partner. I want you to sit. This is the directions, and we'll go back through them. You're going to sit quietly next to your partner for about 2 minutes, and while you're doing it, you ask yourself internally, what do I know about this person? And then whatever thought comes to you, no matter what it is, write it down. Don't judge it, don't censor it. Just write the few words that come. When the flow of words stops, stop, because we have a tendency to want to just keep on writing, and that's our conscious mind taking over. So I want you to do is bypass that conscious mind and get to your intuition. Okay, are you ready? Okay, you're sitting next to your person. Ask yourself the question, what do I know about this person? You have 2 minutes to write down what comes to you. Okay, when that information stops, stop writing. Now turn to your partner, and one of you tell the other what you got. I'm sorry, turn to your partner, I forget about this mic, and one of you tell your partner what you got. Your partner is going to confirm or deny. Okay, time's up. Can I quiet, please? I love your enthusiasm, but can we get quiet for a minute? Thank you. Oh, I bet the teachers loved all of you. Thank you for talking. Now ask your partner to either confirm or deny what you told them. Ask your partner to either confirm or deny. You are chattier than elementary kids. I don't know. Okay, change places. The other person, tell them what you received. All right, that person can confirm or deny. Okay, please stop talking now.
Attention up front, please.
Thank you very much. This is not going to work unless we can have a little bit of following directions here. So now you both should have shared. You both have had an opportunity to accept, to say, yes, that was true, what you said about me, or it wasn't true. So can somebody share? Is there somebody who'd like to share what they found out? Were there any surprises? There's a microphone up here if you want to come up.
I had the pleasure, coincidentally.
Real loud.
What? Oh,
I'm told it's on. I hope it.
let's see.
It should be on.
Can you hear me? All right, so I sat behind the gentleman behind me, who coincidentally is the husband of our speaker.
A plant.
So I wrote down, shy, private, dedicated, desires to please family. I nailed it.
Brian, did you have anything that you wanted to share?
The things I do to keep her happy, unbelievable. Friendly, nice to people, and adventurous.
Thank you both very much. Anybody else want to share? Just pull it off. Okay, that's better.
And that works. So I asked her name right off. Her name is Jackie. And she says she doesn't play well with others with a big smile like that. So I came back with a comment of my own that I was much stronger than her. And then the second thing was true. I saw a lot of truth in it. And I can't even remember what the next question was, so I said no. That's it. Who wants the mic?
Did you have anything you wanted to share? Okay. Anybody else? Were there any aha moments? I have to tell you my first experience doing this. I was with a woman, I didn't know who she was or anything about her. And I kept getting this, the only message I was getting about her was fear of intimacy. And I thought, what? Fear of intimacy, and the message wouldn't change. And so we went around the room and we were doing the sharing, and I said, fear of intimacy, and the person burst into tears. Yeah, I said, I think I should have let her down slowly. This next exercise is different. This is a very powerful one, and one I use every day. It's asking for and receiving guidance. For this one, we would meditate, which would be really be quiet for a couple of minutes. Before you do that, I'll have you write down the question. When you open your eyes, you write down the response that you get. I'm sorry. So the question, I'd like you just to write down the question right now. This is the first question. What is my mission? And when you've written that down, please close your eyes. Don't talk to anybody, please. And just meditate very quietly, very respectfully, so everybody can have the quiet. You write down the first thing that comes to mind. You stop when the flow of the words. Is this for ourselves or for our partner? No, this is about you now. This is not about your partner, but you can stay where you are. Write down whatever you received. Do not judge it or censor it. Stop when the flow of words stops. Once you've done that, you may look at your answer and say to yourself, what does this mean? And there may be a little bit more information come. Write down any new information and stop when the words stop. The next question, question number 2. Please write this down. What are my gifts? What are my gifts? Please close your eyes. Just sit quietly, meditate, 2 minutes. Write whatever comes to you. If you're finished with that one, question number 3. What is my first step? What is my first step? S-T-E-P, step. 2 minutes to receive an answer. Your 4th question, who can help me? Just let it come to you. Don't try to think about it. Just let it come to you. Who can help me? And now the 5th question, whatever's going on in your life, you've got some kind of burning question in there, something you really want to know, something you've been wondering about, pondering about, worrying about. Whatever that question is for you, write down that question for question number 5. I'd like you to take a couple minutes to receive that very important response. Could you repeat that last question again? Yes, sure. Thank you. In your lifetime right now, there are things that are really bothering you or concerning you or worrying you. Whatever that is for you personally, write down that question. What is it you want to know? Keep meditating and writing whatever is coming to you, and do not stop the flow of words. Thank you. Don't have anybody who would like to share some of what they received, and don't feel it's necessary, but if you'd like to. On any of the questions. Thank you.
All right. What is my mission? To entertain, apparently. To bring joy. So I hope I'm helping out right now. Am I helping anybody? Raise your hand. Perfect. Awesome. What are my gifts? I'm kind of chatty. I'm funny. I'm good at listening. What is my first step? For whatever reason, I could only think of forgive myself. I don't know what that means. Who can help me? Everyone. Everyone can help me. When will it get easier? It doesn't. It's not going to get easier. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Did anybody else like to share? Maybe they got something surprising, something you weren't expecting. Yes.
Hi there. I'm not going to go through my list because I just had one shocking one come to me. I'm a heart patient. I'm a childhood heart attack survivor. And what do I want to know as my burning question? And I never gave this a thought. But what came forward was, will I require a heart transplant and will I get it? So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you so much. This is a very powerful technique when you practice it and use it over and over. This is how I receive books and messages, and how I live my life every day, is just to tune into that. And I don't always now formally write down the questions in the same way, but to ask the question, to have that on your heart and to have that answer come. And that is called receiving guidance. That's going to be a very powerful skill when we begin to deal with others who we can't communicate with. So in summary, the world's changing rapidly. This speed is expected to increase. Already, many of us have learned that we can hear, see, feel, sense, and know beyond our physical capabilities. Some of us have intuitive awareness that we know of, and we're working to expand those abilities. This love energy, which is just a universal, I don't mean just, but an universal energy, will be the protection that's available to people, because that's what people are going to get first when they meet you. They're going to get your energy. Journey to Love is the 52-week curriculum that teaches you how to expand your intuition and all of those senses, and will help you with telepathy, which is really what we were doing right now, a form of it. All of that is contained in this book that I have, Experiencer's Guide to the New World, so that you can, for 1 year, just do these simple steps daily and allow these things to expand, and you'll have some aha moments like some people have today. The benefits of doing the daily steps in this, it's called Journey to Love. We'll be able to ask for and receive guidance. We'll become filled with love energy, which extends from our body and forms some protection. Our senses will be developed beyond our physical capacity to see, hear, feel, sense, or smell as needed. We have a new technique for meditating and asking questions that can be used in any situation to provide guidance. We always need to be aware of our fears and our preferences when receiving this, because we can, as I did, change that answer by not being centered. We can use our profound intuition to protect us, and we can receive guidance and this information anytime that we want, simply by doing what you did today. Thank you so much for coming. I hope it's been helpful.